everyone, it's me, Speed Force Master. Today I'm going to be doing my review for The Flash Season 5. And I decided to do this video since I've been planning to for a long time, and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this one. I like it more than most people. I mean, was it a huge step up from Season 4? Absolutely. Was it a lot better than Season 6? Of course. But does that make it as great as the first 3 seasons? No. And I'll be talking about why later. First, to get something out of the way, I noticed that a lot of you liked my Red Death voice impression. And speaking of Red Death, we're going to be talking about him later, but yeah, a lot of you say it's creepy, really good, it's sick, it's amazing. Some even say it's by far the best video on this channel, and that's how I heart my comments. Keep it up. Anyway. And I've not done my reviews for the first 2 seasons yet, since I don't really know what to say about them, and it's honestly too much to make out. Pretty much everything after Season 2 is so controversial that it's kind of rare finding someone with a different opinion on the first 2 seasons when you compare it to the later ones. But yeah, this is one of them. Season 1 and 2, I don't really know what to say. You already get it. They're the best seasons. Well, I personally like Season 3 more than Season 1, but anyway, let's get to this. Let's start off with the good. Now, one thing, I really like the storyline of Reverse Flash using Cicada as like this plot device where he was in prison for 15 years and manipulated Nora the whole season, trained her how to time travel, and then was responsible for Cicada's dagger being created. And then turns out that Thawne had Cicada's dagger strapped onto his chest, taking away his speed, and that's why he never escaped. And then it was his plan to get them to destroy Cicada's dagger so that he can go free, which eventually that was the case. I really liked that finale. It's honestly the best finale out of this whole show. And probably one of the greatest fights Barry had with Thawne. And there are other things I really loved about this season. I liked some of the episodes, mainly the 100th episode, where not only did my favorite villains, Zoom and Savitar, come back, but also it was revealed why Thawne, or how he got that idea. When Barry and Nora went to Season 1, Episode 11, at the same time, the Barry from season 2, episode 17 showed up. And then they needed dark matter to fix their weapon to stop Cicada. And then that, of course, gave Thawne the idea that if he was gonna get trapped years later by Cicada's dagger, he would have to meet Nora before she showed up and teach her how to do all those things. Since in Nora's timeline, Cicada was never caught. And he wanted to kill all metahumans. There's even an alternate timeline with Orlin Dwyer's niece, Grace Gibbons, how she was being trained by Orlin. It was in a timeline where he never took the cure. And I actually like all that storyline, and I also really liked Memorabilia, mainly because, well, the storyline for the episode. And there was one thing which now we're going to go into my mixed reactions, and that is how it mentioned Red Death the same way with DeVoe back in season 3, episode 18. Yeah, back when, well, in this season, though, he was watching young Nora and her memories, watching a video of David Sane talking about Cicada, how many people he's killed, and comparing it to Zoom, who is, of course, a serial killer. And someone called the Red Death, and once I watched that scene, I was so hyped, because he was one of my favorite characters from the comics. And it was really good for the season, but the reason why it's mixed is because that was false advertising. Spoiler alert, but he was not the main villain for season 6. Just kidding, you already knew that. If you've seen my review, I really did not like that season. It is by far the worst season of The Flash, in my opinion. But you already get why. The reason why, though, mainly because of all the other stuff that was going on and what we got instead. The worst part is the CW knew what they were doing, that they couldn't use him because they didn't have the rights to Batman. And according to people, he has to be Batman. It's so dumb. Then mention Flash villains, not Batman villains. This is the Flash, not Batwoman. I mean, it's just like trying to set up Lex Luthor in a TV show that's about Spider-Man. That would not work. Okay, maybe I'm going too far, because that's Marvel and DC. Of course, they wouldn't do that unless they really wanted to cross over. But yeah, and that Red Death is a speedster, so you would have to And of course, he's an evil version of Batman in the comics with super speed, like the Flash. And it was so misleading, which is why it felt like a stab in the face now when I think about it. Another mixed thing I have to say is the Flash, his suit. I mean, a lot of people hate it. I personally don't. Mainly, I must admit, when I first looked at it, I cringed at first. I thought it was weird, but over time, I got used to it. I don't know about you, but I got used to it. Have to admit it's at least comic book accurate. Not as good as the suit from season 4, 6, or the first 3 seasons. But, season 4 and 6 had the best seasons. The best suits, even if they were the worst seasons. And, this was also better by season 4, by at least not as boring. That's also why it's better than season 6, my opinion at least. Well, not only if it's to do with the villains, well, I'll be talking about that later, but also because just what was surrounding it. And there were just so many things I really liked about it that kind of made me not as mad about it as most people. However, now, when I think about it, let's move on to the negatives. I eventually looked at this season after a while and realized it was not as good as I remember it being. Yes, it was actually originally my favorite season. Yeah, a lot of you are probably pretty mad at me. Well, that's fine. Yeah, it originally was. Now I can agree it's one of the worst seasons of The Flash. And not only was the whole thing, everything that was the reason why it was my favorite season are the reasons why season 6 is the worst season. And if it's for something like that, it's very bad. Season 4 at least knew what it was. Yeah, it had bad filler episodes, but it at least succeeded in what it wanted to be. The Thinker was still a really good villain, and it was the first they wanted to try. No more speedsters for once. And I'm not saying they need speedsters in their show to make it good. They can do fine without one. For example, Bloodwork is a fantastic villain. He wasn't a speedster. Although, mainly, if it's more speedster-focused seasons, I tend to enjoy them more, which is why now I think there's hope for season 7, but I'm going to make a video on that eventually, on how they can improve and why they need to. But before I do that, you're gonna have to hear more of those reasons in this video so that will make sense. Anyway. And another thing that I did not like is what they did with Cicada. He was a wasted villain. And I don't think he's as bad as most people make him out to be, but he was actually a pretty great villain at first, and I thought he was kind of intimidating, to be honest, but over time, he just kept appearing and appearing, and had way more fights than he should have. I mean, if you compare it to Reverse Flash, Zoom, or Bloodwork, it really doesn't help. And how they eventually came up with ways how to defeat him. I mean, Cicada would still stood a chance, to be honest, don't get me wrong, but like, they just eventually got to the point where they had to replace him with another Cicada, which completely ruined his potential. And either Orland Dwyer should have been a mini-arc villain, or maybe changed him and people would have liked him more. Although Grace, when she showed up, it kind of ruined the Cicada potential, and she was a copycat of another villain, and she was only there for filler. And then it just felt kind of pointless. It didn't really feel focused on Cicada anymore. And then eventually she didn't get enough screen time. And then it was revealed that Thawne was the true main villain and that they were just plot devices to help him escape, which I really like that twist. To be honest, I don't think Cicada's necessarily a bad villain, but not great either. I mean, but I can understand why you don't like him, no? Or her, yeah. Not a big fan of Cicada 2. Wow. Cicada, I thought was good, but he was wasted. Though. And I honestly don't have very many else negatives other than all the reasons why it used to be my favorite season are the reasons why season 6 is my least favorite season. Well, you're gonna hear more harder reviews on this season than me, but I just wanted to give my opinion. I have mixed reaction on this. I mean, maybe I don't like it as much as YouTubers like Black Lion, but still more than most people. yeah, still enjoyable, but not great. I mean, huge step up from season 4. Not as good as season 6 though. And yeah, so I could say, let me know what you thought of this season. I'll respect yours if you respect mine. And let me know which video I should make next. If you have any suggestions, there are definitely ones I'm planning for. And bye.